Hi everyone. So today I'm going to go through the angle relationships that you need to be familiar with. If you could make sure that you've got a piece of paper and write these angle relationships down. You need to be very familiar with them, and you're going to use them for your first project when you design your flag for your island. All right, so the first one is called the complementary angle theorem, and its short form is CAT. And what it says is that if you have two angles and you add them together, if they equal 90 degrees, that is the complementary angle theorem. Okay, so the sum of the angles is 90 degrees. The supplementary angle theorem says that two angles, when added together, will add up to 180 degrees. So if you have a straight line and then you break that into two angles, they will always add up to 180 degrees. And this little symbol here just means angle A is, if you add angle B to that, it will equal 180. The third theorem is called the opposite angle theorem. Short form is OAT. And that theorem says if you draw a cross, the angles that are opposite to each other will always be equal. So angle X will be equal to angle A or angle Y, and angle A will be equal to angle B. Angle sum triangle theorem, short form is ASTT, says that if you draw any kind of triangle, the angles inside will be equal to 180 degrees. Sum means the addition of. So angle X plus angle Y plus angle Z is equal to 180 degrees. The next one is called the isosceles triangle theorem. And that theorem says if you draw a triangle and two of the sides are equal in length, okay, that means you're going to end up with an isosceles triangle. The two angles at the bottom are going to be equal. Okay, so angle X is equal to angle Y. Next one, equilateral triangle theorem, ETT, says that if you have an equilateral triangle, so that's a triangle where all three sides are equal to each other. If that is true, then also the interior angles will be equal to each other. Okay, so if they're equal to each other, and we know that the sum of three angles inside a triangle are equal to 180, then each of them has to be 60 degrees, right? Because 3 times 60 is 180. Exterior angle theorem says that the exterior angle, which is the Z, that's the angle on the outside of that triangle, is equal to the sum of the non-adjacent interior angles. So non-adjacent, so this is the adjacent angle to Z. It says the non-adjacent, so the other two, all right, together, if you add them together, it should equal the exterior angle. So X plus Y will equal angle Z. And the last one on this page is the sum of exterior angles of a triangle theorem, SEAT, says that the sum of the exterior angles of a triangle, so all the angles on the outside, if you draw your triangle and then extend each of the lines, if you add those angles together, it's going to equal 360 degrees. And two more theorems. These ones are for quadrilaterals. The first one says the sum of exterior angles of a quadrilateral, SEAQ, the sum of those angles on the outside is also going to equal 360 degrees. And the last one, this is the property of a parallelogram, and the angles are going to equal 360 degrees as well. And what's special about a parallelogram is that the opposite angles, so A and B, and then X and Y, are equal to each other. So A equals B, and X is equal to Y. So those are the theorems. Make sure that you've got those written down. And now I'm going to go through a few examples. I got 9 examples total. to do with you. And then after that, I will have some questions that are going to be posted and attached to this post that I'd like you to complete before next class. All right, so for these examples here, now that you know what the theorems are, we're going to use those theorems to answer these questions. So at the top, it just says, don't use a protractor, use the angle theorems. And the reason for that is because these are not drawn to scale. And if you try to use a protractor, you're not going to get the correct answer. All right, so we're going to find all the missing angles in each question and then write down the reason. Okay, so angle X, if we know this angle in here is 67, together they have to equal 180 degrees because of the supplementary angle theorem. All right, so if we know they have to equal to 180, in order to find X, we subtract 67 from 180 to get 113 degrees. Okay, the next one is same thing, supplementary angle theorem. Now we're given that this angle is 113 degrees, so the other one has to be 67. All right, for the same reason, supplementary angle theorem. And the third one on this page, these two angles have to add up to 90 degrees, and that's what this little square means over here. It says that it's a right angle triangle. So if we know they add up to if we know they add up to 90, and this one is 62, 90 minus 62 will give us the X, which is 28 degrees. So complementary angle theorem for that one. Question D. All right, here we've got the opposite angle theorem that can be used, right? We have an X. The angles opposite to each other should be equal. So for that reason, X should be 33 degrees. Okay, due to the opposite angle theorem. Angle Y we can get by realizing that 33 plus Y has to equal 180 because of that straight line there. So that would be the supplementary angle theorem, 147 degrees. And then from there, we can say Z is equal to Y, again, because of the opposite angle theorem. Question E. This is showing, we're looking for a missing exterior angle, and we have the other two exterior angles, and they need to add up to 360 degrees. So 360 minus 100 minus 105 will give me 155 degrees. So that's due to the SEAT, which is the sum of exterior angles theorem. Question F, we're missing the third angle inside a triangle. And we said that the three angles inside any triangle are going to have to add up to 180. Okay, so that gives us 53 degrees for the third angle, and that's due to the angle sum triangle theorem. And the last three examples that I have for you. Question G. We are missing angle X and we're missing angle Y. So there's a couple different ways of solving this question. You might realize that these two angles, if they get added together, should be equal to the 138 degrees. And that's due to this theorem right here, right? The interior angle should be equal to the one that's opposite on the outside, the exterior angle theorem. The other method you could use is these two angles in here. So this little angle plus 138 need to equal 180, so you can use that method. And then once you have this angle, we know this is 90, you can get X and go from there. I use the first method. Okay, I use the exterior angle theorem. All right, so what I did was I realized that X plus 90 needs to equal 138 degrees. Okay, so that means X is going to be 138 minus 90, which is 48 degrees. Either method is fine. You might have your own method. And then once you know that this is 48 degrees, then you can figure out why, right? Because together they have to add up to 180. And that's the supplementary angle theorem, so 132 degrees. Question H. We have 130 on the outside, and the opposite inside angles need to add up to 130. which is 100. And that's the exterior angle theorem. Now you might be looking at this question and think to yourself, this doesn't look like 100 degrees. This looks like it's less than 90. The reason for that is because this drawing is not done properly. It should really look more like this, where this is more of an angle that's more than 90, right? It should be going in this direction a little bit more. Right, this angle here was not drawn large enough. The 130 would go a little bit further, way past here in this way. Okay, so that is angle X. And then the last one, the last question here, this is an isosceles triangle up here, so this angle is equal to this angle, which means that Y should be equal to 40. Okay, that's due to the interior theorem. So that was the ITT. So, sorry, the isosceles triangle theorem, ITT. And now we can find X. All right, X you can find by realizing that 40 plus X is equal to 180 due to the supplementary angle theorem. Okay, and then this X is going to be the same as that X over there. All right, so those are the theorems and the examples. Thank you for listening and for writing these down. And take a look at the questions that I'm assigning. Please make sure that when you're completing your homework that you take photos and submit them in Google Classroom for me. All right, thank you. If you have any questions, send me an email and I'll get back to you. Good luck.